made the move officially? Oh, okay. Capital Bank, yeah. I bet there was some renovating to do inside there. I remember free, but I would have thought there would be a lot of work to do.
Well, we pretty much gutted the whole interior. It looks good. Still kind of a work in progress. Finishing the floors are kind of extra paint, but about there. The address was 5120 Maryland Way. Well, yeah, Capital Bank was bought out my first
They're keeping some of their locations, but Maryland Way, John Franklin, they sold to another bank. But you own it.
We do. Yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's a really pretty building on the outside. I just remember going in 1989. So that's been redone. Yeah. Really? Well, I heard at one point about it was invented in Kentucky. Somebody contact that, that. So they were asked, what kind of pie is that? And they said it's just pie. Then the Kentucky secret southern just pie. I have no idea how much of that is. It's a good story. Yes. Yeah. Hey there. Good, how are you? Yes, good. Hey, how you doing? Hanging in there. What now? Probably do the rest of it. Probably need to make the rest of it. Be memorable. There he is. There
Hello.
He is. Hello.
How you doing? Hey, boss. How are you?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. I was doing what you really wanted to see. I was trying to test. Yes. I just said you said. She's right up next to me. Yeah, we need to make it a meeting.
You are not late.
I'm quite sure.
You're not late. You're actually early for us. just the two Arnheimers and one Dolian.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the March 8th meeting of the Brentwood Rotary Club. For those of you visiting today, my name is Michael King, and I am the president of this club for 15 more weeks. Yes, standing O. Today's invocation will be given by Sybil Buchanan, followed by Larry Kane with the pledge and four-way test. And I do have an update for you on John Stokes. He is still the same and is expected to have a biopsy again in about 4 weeks to determine where to go on that. However, Virginia, his wife, took a fall this week. Yes. And while they were imaging her arm, they found a spot on her lung. And so now she is going to a specialist concerning that, and we don't know where to go from there. So just please keep them in your prayers. Sybil.
Okay. Can you hear me? I know how. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai. Blessed are you, O God. I felt it appropriate to begin my invocation with the three powerful words that start many prayers in the Jewish faith, especially in light of the newly elected U.S. representative who, since elected, has repeatedly made anti-Semitic statements. God, please give us the courage to stand up for what is right and to get out of bed each day, especially when the day is bleak. I want to thank you, God, for guiding me to this wonderful club of Rotarians who are finally accepting me and not thinking I am just another loony bird from California. But even if I were, thankfully as Rotarians, we have the common goal of service above self, and give us the strength to continue to push on to work towards our goals. God, please lift all Rotarians in our club who are facing illness or loss of a loved one. We ask that you bring healing comfort and peace to their minds and bodies. Calm their fears and let them experience the healing power of your love. Give us the patience to be compassionate and helpful toward others, and clarity to be grateful for all that we have and to realize when we have something to give to others. Give us the capacity to love and forgive others. Give us the serenity to find happiness and peace in each day. Let us have the capability to live in the moment, dance in the rain, sing in the shower, and live life to the fullest. Let us have the perspective to see the bigger picture in all situations we may face. Let us have the potential to change what we can change and do what we can as Rotarians to make the world a better place. And most of all, let us have the intelligence to realize that most of these traits already exist within us. Give us the strength and curiosity to find them within ourselves and others. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Four-way test, the things you might say and do. First,
is it true?
Second,
is there all concern?
third,
Will it build the will of every righteousness? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
He's not here. All right. Sybil, it's not that we don't think that you're a loony bird from California. You're just our kind of loony bird. All right. Speaking of loony birds, Keeley Hall's going to introduce our guest and visiting Rotarians.
I resemble that statement. All right, so we have Mr. Tom Carr is going to introduce this guest to us.
This guy is not a Florida State grad. However, he did graduate from the Columbia Military Academy with myself. We're a few years apart, but so we go back to high school. And he'll take, if you want to blackmail information on me later, he'll take check or cash.
What's his name? What's his name?
Yeah. This is one of those introductions where he needs no introduction, so he doesn't get one.
Maybe I don't want them to know who he is, to look him up. Go ahead.
Thank y'all for having me. My name's Dudley Nolinger, and it dawned on me when I drove to the parking lot today, this is something that's very unusual. My wife and her son today are in Cure, Switzerland. Now, what does that have to do with Rotary? My brother-in-law, her brother, got her daughter an exchange trip, and she lived in Cure, Switzerland. I just find it very ironic, exchange trip. I find it very ironic I'm here today. Thank you.
Welcome. Let's see, we have a couple of visiting Rotarians. This is the two birds, one stone variety over here. The Arnheimers are with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. You're welcome. All right. And Mr. Bowers, would you like to introduce us to who's sitting next to you, sir?
Yeah, this guy. Hey, Tom. This guy is special. He didn't go to Columbia Military Academy, and he did not have his grade sealed by people who go to military academy. This is our district governor-elect, Bob Huffman. So he's going to take over next year and move us on to greater glory.
Welcome, Mr. Governor-elect. And that, my friends, is all from me. So now back to our original Looney Bird.
That's right.
Thanks, Nikki.
The head Looney Bird. Thank you very much, Gilly. Okay, so we got a few announcements to make here first. Pancake Day tickets will be on your tables or here in the building next week. So make sure you either pick them up off your tables or see Bart or whoever will have them, and I will tell you who will have them. And let's get those Pancake Day tickets out so that we can have a big turnout this year. Remember, regarding Pancake Day tickets this year, if you secure sponsorship for either the golf tournament of $250 or more, or for our Pancake Day, you are not obligated to pay the $200 for your Pancake Day tickets. You can still get them out, and you can still pay if you want, but you're not obligated. So let's go ahead and start working on our sponsorships. Larry has told me that we have 16 of the 141 returning sponsors from last year, but let's work on getting some of the other ones. Services for former member Hank Gildermeister are this Saturday, tomorrow, 2 o'clock at the West End. Let me get this right. West End United Methodist Church, starting at 2 o'clock, 12:30, they will have a visitation if you're all inclined to go pay your respects to Hank's family. In this week's reflections, I mentioned about the tornado in Alabama and how the district governor 6880 was asking for volunteers. Since then, Larry has talked to him and he has said that they've had more than enough volunteers at this point. What he would say is that perhaps down the road, once they figure out what special needs that they have as far as, skills and whatnot, that they may put a call out for folks. And if you have those skills and are inclined to go down and help the folks of Lee County, Alabama, then I will pass that on and let you know when that's available. Jane Covington has an announcement.
So I'll be a broken record for the next couple of weeks representing the Personnel Committee for Pancake Day. There are forms on your table again this week, and we've also sent out the link to sign up online. If you would please fill out a form from the table. If you're not able to sign up online, we would appreciate it. Here's how this goes down. For the next couple of weeks, you're able to sign up, and if we have not heard from you, then we start making phone calls, and Julie Porter and I are the nice guys, so we will make every effort to get you to sign up either online or with paper, and then if that doesn't happen, we stick Sarah Johnson on you. So you might save yourself from that. Thank you.
All righty. And speaking of our fearless incoming leader, Bob Huffman has a special presentation he would like to make. Bob.
Thank you. Susie, if you'll come up, please, ma'am. most of you know the district governor-elect has absolutely no authority whatsoever. And the only superpower you really have is the ability to demonstrate your appreciation by recognizing great volunteers and encourage that Susie doesn't quit as you're going in to start your year. So Susie, for all of your hard work and everything that you've done throughout the years, here's a small token of my appreciation. And for the jeweler who has all the baubles, Evan Burrell has made a superhero pin, and it's my honor to say that you, ma'am, are a superhero to me, and thank you so much for everything you do for Rotary. There's not an event in this district that Susie doesn't touch. If you're going to be a district governor and you're building team, Susie has to be on team. She's critical to your induction, to your mid-year, and to your district conference. We love what she does. She does it quietly, as a quiet professional in the background. Could have gave this to her in the background, but I wanted to recognize her in front of her clubmates and just say, guys, thank you for dedicating and allowing us to take her talents to the district level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob. And most of us in this club, if not all of us, would echo those sentiments, and that was one of the reasons why she was one of the first people I asked to be on my board as president, because of all the great things that she does for me as well. Okay, Happy Bucks. Alan Treadway is going to start us off and see who is happy today.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Tennessee playing at their peak in the SEC tournament coming up. So Mike Walker got $1.
There you go.
Go Ball! All right. Mr. McGrew.
What do you got?
I don't have any cash on me.
That's terrible.
All right, Julie. Julie Boone. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
I am so sorry.
All right, so I am hoping to embarrass a Rotarian who happens to be my boss and the best boss in the world. But Bob Searcy and his partner, Zach Hurd, it was announced last week that they have been named to the 2019 edition of the Forbes list of best in state wealth advisors.
Thank you. Thank you. Devin McClendon.
Well, most of you are happy it's basketball season and we're entering March Madness. I take a little different take this time of year. Every 2 years, it's political season in Brentwood. So if you haven't noticed, you're starting to see yard signs out. For those of you who live in the city of Brentwood, please get involved. Please read up. You have 9 candidates to choose from for 4 votes. I can tell you this, that there is certainly a Rotarian on the list who happens to be the son of a Brentwood Noon Rotarian. So if you have any questions or would like to get involved, please let me know. I'm happy to tell you more about it.
Okay, thank you. And who else? No, I was going to give $1, but I only have 20, so. Who else is up? Charles? Go ahead. How about those Vanderbilt Commodores? Right. Anybody over here? Okay. What have we got? Anybody? I tell you what, Jennifer, you got $1? I just want to let you know, Jennifer went to Vanderbilt, okay? But tell them where you went to high school.
Auburn High School.
Auburn, Alabama.
All right.
I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. All right. That's
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. All righty. It is time for Charles Grummins to introduce our speaker today. Charles.
Okay,
Oh, it's time. I got these. These came with my 46th birthday. All right. Janie Day, thank you so much for joining us. Janie Day is the president and CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank, an organization that we're all familiar with. I don't think there's anyone in Nashville that hasn't volunteered for Second Harvest. You all are amazing at getting people out. Janie Day joined Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee as president and CEO in July of 1988. As president and CEO, Ms. Day oversees the daily operation of the entire food bank while providing leadership and vision in conquering the issue of hunger in our community. She has served on the board of directors of Feeding of America, currently is a board member for Global Food Bank Network, National Sports Council, Leadership Music. She's a graduate of Leadership Tennessee, Leadership Nashville, Leadership Middle Tennessee. Can you do all of those? You like to just leadership? Have you done Leadership Brentwood? Okay, I guess so. Yeah. I'm sorry, and I wasn't even done. Leadership Music. She's a member of the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce Homelessness Commission, or Chamber Homelessness Commission. She's conducted various workshops for Feeding America's national and regional conferences, as well as the Center for Nonprofit Management of Nashville. Frequently called upon to address hunger awareness issues, as she is today, and a prevalent speaker in the community and here. Ms. Day has over 40-plus years of experience in nonprofit management and administration, recently been distinguished among community leaders with the following award recognitions, including Nashville Post CEO of the Year, 2016, Feeding America's John Van Hengel Fellowship Award, Nashville Business Journal's Most Admired CEO Nonprofit in 2015, 16, and 2012, as well as the Association of Nonprofit Executives CEO of the Year in 2001. Thank you so much for making time to come talk to us.
Well, thank you all. I'm going to start by telling you I'm a third generation Rotarian. I'm a current Rotarian in downtown Nashville Rotary Club, but I am retiring on June 30th. And I was just talking to Jane Covington, who is a very good friend of mine. We met through Rotary when she was in downtown Rotary. And so I am a resident of Brentwood. So I'm thinking about maybe changing my membership out here. So I really want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to talk to you more about Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. Now, I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but it shows really how far we've come over the last couple of years from just serving the greater Nashville area to actually serving half of the state of Tennessee, 46 counties in both Middle and West Tennessee. To give you a little bit of perspective, we go all the way to Humboldt, which is way on the other side of Jackson. We go all the way up to White County, and then we go kind of state to state. So it's a large service area, about 20,000 square feet, and very rural, as you can well imagine. But we are still focused on meeting the growing need that is out there in the communities by serving those who truly don't know where their next meal is going to come from. Now, when I started at Second Harvest, we were a $3 million or 3 million pound operations. We were distributing about 3 million pounds, but this past year we distributed over 34 million pounds of food just in our 46 county area. And that provided over 28 million meals to people who struggle to put food on their tables every day. Now, we have close to 500 partner agencies that we work with daily. These are all nonprofit organizations, and they have some kind of meal component as part of their program in making sure that people have access to food. Now, in Williamson County, we have 12 here. And one of our greatest partners that I can't say enough about is GraceWorks. They are a huge partner of ours, and I think maybe you all have been involved with them in the past, and we appreciate all that support. Now, this year we had right at 36,000 volunteers who donated about 91,000 hours, either sorting food, putting together kids' backpacks, building senior citizen food boxes, and all the while they did it with a smile on their face and a spring in their step. Now, knowing that they were less fortunate, facing one of our most basic needs, which is hunger. Now, I've had a lot of folks ask me what made me want to work in this field. And of course, the first thing I say is no one made me. This was a self-choice. But I asked them if they're a big country music fan, because if you've ever heard of a song by Garth Brooks called Unanswered Prayers, well, that's me. And it's how I wound up at Second Harvest. So I was adopted at a very young age by very caring parents who devoted their lives to serving others. My father was a United Way executive. My mother was a public health nurse and assistant public health director in Kansas City. My father, we moved around a lot. I was born in Kentucky, lived in Minneapolis, lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, lived in Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Atlanta, Iowa, and continued to move around quite a bit as a young adult. Now, we moved because my parents lived their lives really with the Rotary motto of service above self, not only in their professional lives, but also in their volunteer work, their church work that they did. And they were always reaching out to people to assist them. They really set the example for me as a young child for the work that I have been doing for the last 40 plus years. Now, they taught me from a very young age that service above self was a worthy profession to enter as well. And I realized very early that I wanted to help people. I wanted them to be better and be in a better place than where they are today. And at first I thought it would be teaching in an inner city school. That was my original goal when I was going to college at the University of Kansas. But I realized about my fourth year in, it was the Vietnam War, and it was a very tumultuous time for all of us. And I really didn't feel like I was prepared. So I decided I would leave school with one semester left to go. Now, my father wasn't very happy about that, as you can well imagine. I know when my children told me one time, I'm going to take a year off from school, and I looked at him and my eyes were that big. And of course, he said, "Mom, you did it, so you got to let me do it too," which he was right. And he's very successful today. So anyway, I decided that I would work, and I still continued all my volunteer work, whether it was with the YMCA or tutoring kids after school in a low-income neighborhood, working with senior citizens. The volunteer spirit has always been part of who I am. But finally, when my circumstances changed again, I decided to go back to school, and my father encouraged me to enter social work. And I did, and I got my BS in social work, and I eventually became an executive director of a children's shelter. And then a few years later, I decided it was time for a change. So in 1988, I moved to Nashville, and I was ready for a career change. And I really wanted to get a job in the business world. And I had the skills, I had the know-how, but I was a woman, and I was from the nonprofit world. And people in the for-profit world didn't think very highly of us in those days. And so they didn't really think that I could do the job. But so I was a finalist at Vanderbilt, and I prayed that I would get that job offer because I wanted the benefits and the opportunity. Both my parents graduated from Vanderbilt. So, but my prayers weren't answered that day. I didn't get the Vandy job. So 30 plus years later, here I am. I'm serving folks. I'm working for Second Harvest. And I started in an industrial park when we went there. If you were familiar with Second Harvest 31 years ago, it was a very tiny building with one little tiny window. And it was on the east side of town. And people didn't want to go to the east side of town in those days. It was kind of scary over there. Not like it is today, which is a great community. But anyway, you know, it's really been a journey for me and a passion for me. But we haven't done it alone to get to where we are today of serving over 28 million meals. But it's folks like you who have helped us with this tremendous need. Now, it's our donors, our corporate partners, our partner agencies, and our volunteers that really allow us to keep doing what we do every day. So I'm a huge sports fan, and I once heard of a professional basketball player who wanted to lead the NBA in scoring, and he had to average about 32 points a game. Now, that's a lot of points, and it seemed insurmountable to him, but he said, as he thought about it, it really only averaged out to 8 points per quarter, and that he thought was very doable. And that's the way that we have approached our work at Second Harvest, taking the necessary steps in a thoughtful and deliberative manner to make our community's needs, to meet those needs, and making sure that folks have access to nutritious food. And we really take it quarter by quarter. Now, back when I started at Second Harvest, more than 98% of our food was non-perishable. It was high in fat, high in sodium, all of those things, and it was almost all canned goods. We have very little access to good, fresh, nutritious foods. But that has all changed. Those days, it was our mission to kind of get it in and get it out to folks. But now, today, more than 30% of the product that we distribute is actually fresh, nutritious food. Fruits and vegetables, dairy products, frozen meats, just a variety of things. We also are very fortunate to have more food coming our way than we've ever had before from our retail food partners. So a number of years ago, the food industry changed, and they decided that all that unmarketable food that previously was going in our landfills would now come to Second Harvest, and we'd be able to redistribute it. So it was still good food. It was no longer marketable. It might be a little off in color, but the taste was still fine. And so we started taking all of that food. In addition, we are receiving more USDA commodities than we've ever received before due to a lot of different things that are happening in Washington today. And that's all great products because during the trade mitigation, many of the farmers are starting to struggle. And a lot of that product is being bought up by the federal government and then redistributed out to organizations like ours to feed those people in need. So the question always comes, how do you receive it? And how do you safely keep it? And how do you safely transport it to our partner agencies? So in order for us to be able to do that effectively and efficiently, the things that we are receiving, we really needed to change our infrastructure. Food safety is number one for us, and it should be because we don't want anybody to get sick. But that requires refrigerated trucks. It requires large refrigeration systems within our distribution centers. So we've had to build, we entered into a capital campaign several years ago. It was a $20 million campaign, and now we have about $5 million left to raise for that. With that money, we upgraded our infrastructure and refrigeration and trucks. We also built 2 other distribution centers to better serve the people in our outlying counties. So we built one in Benton County of about 28,000 square feet, and we built one in Rutherford County. Actually, we didn't build that one. We're leasing an 87,000 square foot facility. We are adding about 25 to 30,000 square feet at our current facility on Great Circle Way, which in total will bring us to about 225,000 square feet of distribution space so that we can better receive the product that we get through the food industry and then redistribute it out safely to those in need. But in order to do that, we're going to need everybody to help us meet that goal and reduce that capital campaign goal, either by volunteering or making a monetary donation or just getting involved in the issues of hunger and how we can solve those. So 1 in 8 people in our region face food insecurity, and 1 in 5 of them are children. And to me, that's deplorable. No child in this country, as wealthy as we are and with the access that we do have to good, nutritious food, should ever go to bed hungry. But unfortunately, that's happening. Now, the percentage of residents in our region living below the poverty line is on the rise. There are 15 counties in our region where the average family is living below the poverty line. And more than half of our counties saw an increase in the percent of students participating in free or reduced breakfast and lunch programs in the past decade. Now, I think we all can agree that we know children can't learn and can't be productive and can't move on and get good jobs and get an education if they're hungry. Teachers tell us day in and day out that those children that struggle with food insecurity in their home, they have more behavioral problems. They have less attention. They're just not paying attention in the class. They're putting their heads on their desks. They can't read, and it causes all kinds of health issues. And many of those children, many times, are at risk for obesity and diabetes because they're not eating the right nutritious foods, and they don't have access to them. Now, in our region, our families spend more than half of their income on housing, transportation, and health care. And they're really just getting by paycheck to paycheck. So when people ask me, what kinds of folks do you see at your partner agencies or your emergency food box program, I say, they're people just like you and me. It could be someone sitting next to you in the church pew, or it could be one of your child's classmates. You just never know what people are struggling with. And we've all gone through hard times where we've needed assistance from others. And what we've also found is about 70% of our clients work. They are the working class. They are making just slightly above minimum wage. And even though our economy is great here in the Nashville metropolitan area, I can tell you the economy in our outlying counties is not. People are struggling. Plants have closed and they have not returned. They have just minimum wage jobs out there. And now with the hospital closings and not having good access to health care, it's only exacerbating the problem. So here in Williamson County, and I think this is an interesting figure, nearly 15,000 of our neighbors here in Williamson don't know where their next meal is coming from. And that includes over 7,000 food insecure children. 7 in our area that we live in and work with and see every day. But the partner agencies like GraceWorks make a difference. And so we work with them daily out here in the county to make sure that we can help supply them with food that then they directly can give to those clients. And we're determined to meet that need. Now, as I approach my last few months as CEO, I'll be retiring as I said, on June 30th. I want to do all I can to meet this capital campaign goal and also to set the table for the future. It is imperative that we have the right equipment, the right storage, and the right distribution method to get all those things out there. So it's really going to require all of us to be able to do that and to strengthen that distribution center. And as I said, we're going to need all of your help. Whether it's a monetary donation, again, whether it's volunteering, or it's just, reaching out to your friends to ask them to get involved. Now, it's been a wonderful 30-plus run for me at Second Harvest, and I've often been asked by people who want to get involved in this line of work and what my advice to them would be. I have a lot of young people, and I actually have a lot of business people that are, in their 50s or 40s, and they feel like they've made all the money that they want to make, and they don't care about that, and they might be interested in giving back. And so I asked them, first of all, what do you feel most passionate about? Is it education? Is it hunger? Is it housing? All of those things are important, but you have to do what you feel passionate about. And then I always tell people, volunteer. Get engaged. Find out if that's something you do feel passionate about. And then I always tell them, be prepared for long hours, sometimes being taken away from family time, and a lot of sweat, and yes, sometimes tears. But I would also tell them it's been the most wonderful job I've ever had in my life. It has made a huge difference in how I look at life and how I work with people every day. It's all about helping others, And we can do it in so many different ways. But doing what my parents did and putting service above self and never failing to ask those who helped you live out your unanswered prayers. So I have been privileged to lead an organization of tireless, dedicated, and loving folks who wake up every single morning with a singular goal in mind, making sure that every person has a nutritious meal and access to one each and every day. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of today's program and allowing me to educate you, hopefully, a little bit more about hunger issues in our community. They can be solved, but it really takes all of us. So now I'm going to end with a real quick story that I heard years ago that really kind of transformed my life, and I hope it will transform yours as well. So there was a food bank director in Minnesota who went to a daycare center to talk to the kids about the issue of hunger. And so she asked the kids, and there are about 30 in the room, how many of you had breakfast this morning? And half the class held up their hand. She said, okay, how many of you didn't have breakfast this morning? And the other kids held up their hand. Why? Was it because you were in a hurry? Because you woke up late? Your parents didn't have time to prepare something? And most of the other kids held up their hand. But there was one little boy in the group who didn't hold up his hand. And when she asked him why he didn't hold up his hand, he said, it's not my turn. Now that happens every day in this community, in this country, but you can do something about it. So I hope you will get involved. Thank you all so much.
Jane, if you will, we have time for questions. Does anybody have some questions for Jane?
Okay. Yes, sir. Different agencies have different distribution models. We actually have some of our own programs, which are kids' backpacks, a senior citizen monthly food program, our emergency food box program in Davidson County, where people can go in and get a food box 3 times every 6 months, so they're not getting it every single month. Most people, we are a program that is a supplement. We're not their primary food provider. Many folks that are low income work or have SNAP benefits. They might participate in other federal nutrition programs like WIC and CSFP and afternoon school food programs, and those are a little bit different. So it really varies by agency by agency. Jane. Programs within your program with the goal of helping people not to need services. Yeah. So, I always tell people they probably wouldn't need a food bank if we had affordable housing, if people made a livable wage, and if we had low-cost health care. And I believe that. There will always be some that will come through the system that, for whatever reason, will always need a food bank. But we make a lot of referrals because usually when people are in crisis, they're not just in crisis about food. They need daycare. They need job development skills. They need transportation. So we really try to make those referrals to those other agencies so that they can lift themselves up and get out of poverty and not need a food bank on a consistent basis. On average, in our emergency food box program, people only come twice a year, believe it or not. I know a lot of people think, oh, they're there every month, they're the same people. That's not true. People have circumstances where they had high utility bills, they had high medical bills, their car broke down, and so whatever savings they did have, they've had to apply it to that. And they will skip meals Parents will skip meals so their kids can eat. I hear that a lot. We see a lot of grandparents, too, that are now taking care of their grandchildren due to the opioid epidemic here in our state. And they're living on limited incomes of Social Security and Medicare. So it really, unfortunately, if we could get more housing, more livable wages, I think a lot of people want to work. People do want to work. When you go see a family and they come through to get a food box, it's embarrassing. They'll say, hey, I never thought I'd ever have to be here. One time I had a banker come through several years ago when the recession started, and he said, I used to make $78,000 a year. I've never been in this situation, but I can't find a job right now. I'm living out of my car with my family in our van, and I am so embarrassed, and I don't know how to work through the system to be able to get assistance until I can get back on my feet. And that's what people really want. They just want some assistance during a really hard time. Yes, sir. Great question. Our annual budget is about $46 million a year. Now, part of that is we have a social enterprise program where we actually are producing our own food. We are a USDA certified facility, and we're taking food that otherwise might have gone into a landfill, and we put it through our cook chill process. So, if you eat a lot of different restaurants like an Applebee's or Old Charlie's, much of the food like soups and some of their other entrees have already been pre-prepared, and they just warm it up in the back. That's what we're doing. We're making entrees. We're making mac and cheese, chicken and dumplings, those kind of things. In addition to that, we have been able to purchase food because we don't always get everything donated. And so people have to have a consistent supply. Our agencies want a consistent supply of peanut butter, mac and cheese, and those things. So we purchase them from large wholesalers and distributors, and then we redistribute that back out to our agencies if they are interested in purchasing food. On donated food, they don't pay anything but a shared maintenance, which is just a small handling fee of less than 6 cents per pound to help us offset our costs. Most of our money comes from individual giving, so that's about 32 million of that 46. The rest of that money comes from United Ways, corporate giving, foundation giving, individual giving, all of that, with the largest probably being individual giving. We are a member, we do receive funding from Davidson County United Way, Williamson County United Way, and Rutherford and Cannon County United Ways. Yes, sir.
Have you run the math on how much the cost is per meal?
Yes, and we can actually, it really depends. So if you mix it with donated product, and then you have to put some kind of purchase product, it's usually only about $1.10 to $1, per meal. It just kind of depends on what kind of, if you have to purchase everything, it's going to be a little bit higher. But even then, the cost is going to be lower overall. Yeah. We have a staff of 116 right now at all three, that really encompasses all three locations. And in addition to that, we have a board of 30 individuals. We are one independent nonprofit organization governed by 30 board members from the community. We have attorneys, CPAs, music industry, healthcare industry. We are very focused right now on healthcare and good, nutritious product. Because if we're going to change the obesity and the diabetes epidemic that is going on in our state, we have to make sure that people are educated about the value of what good, nutritious eating is and how it can improve their health. And then we have to make sure that they have access and it's affordable. Because if those two things are available to people and they, they'll start buying those products in the grocery store. But if they're not familiar with that, and that's something that's foreign to them, we have to educate them. So in a lot of our food boxes, we provide low sodium meals. We do have meals especially packed for folks that are obese or suffering from diabetes or high blood pressure, different things. Some of that requires a different diet. So we're very focused on that. We have a full-time dietitian. We probably need another one now, and we'll probably build that into our budget for the future. It's a challenge for us to pick up from over 250 grocery stores, all of their surplus product in 46 counties. It's a logistical issue. It's expensive. And that's why we built those 2 distribution centers to try to cut that down so that agencies didn't have to travel as far to pick up their product from us. We solicit from the food industry, we bring it in, we store it, we make sure it's safe, and then we're going to move it back out to those agencies or individuals. And so that requires a lot of logistics, a lot of infrastructure, trucks, tow motors, refrigeration, et cetera. And that's not cheap, unfortunately. Yes, ma'am.
Well, they have big shoes to fill for your position, so congratulations on your retirement. You've done amazing things with that agency. It's just amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. One more.
I was going to say the same thing Sherry just said. I don't know who's taking your place, but they don't have an enormous path in front of them. What kind of advice are you going to leave with them when you go?
I think I would say to someone that takes my job, one, we have a tremendous team who are knowledgeable, capable of doing the work that we've been doing in this community really for 40 years. I'm the third president CEO there. And I would tell them, listen to your team. They give great advice and they're really knowledgeable. But I would also tell them, get engaged in the community, get involved, really, let people know about the issue of hunger and how important it is that we can solve this problem together. And it's going to be interesting. We've got about, I think they've talked to 238 individuals. We should have a new person on board hopefully by June 1st, and I'll spend at least a month with them and maybe longer, depending on who it is. So we've got some great candidates from what I understand. Don't know who they are, but yeah. I did want to share one thing with you. Total meals provided in Williamson County this past year is 1,089,620. And that the pounds were over 908,000 pounds here, just in Williamson County alone, out of that 34 million. It's pretty big.
Jane, thank you so much for presenting to us. If you would accept this as a token of our appreciation for being here. And if you would take a moment and sign. We read to elementary school children, and we will tell them about your visit with us. And you and I are kindred spirits, because I too retire at June 30th from this position. And if you come back to see us after June 30th, there will be an application here waiting for you. And then you can practice up on your cornhole and maybe dethrone Jane as the women's champ. Okay, just a reminder, please go out and get your sponsorships for either the cornhole, that thing Larry does, the golf tournament and the pancake day. The other one was, please sign up for your assignments for pancake day. Please forward all cash contributions to your president this way. And there's nothing, please help us put back the chairs and tables. And if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, we are adjourned.